This was a weird one. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a quick video on Samurai Parallel, which is a game that somebody requested to me from my Discord DMs, and as of the recording of this, it's sitting at roughly 14 players, because I guess I've been on a trend of playing games that have nobody playing them recently. Anyways, I guess to get the elephant out of the room right off the bat, do I believe the game deserves to be at 14 players? No, not really. I think it's a lot better than deserving to be at 14 players. That said, I do think that there's a few things in this game that are a little bit questionable, and it's almost hard to talk about this game because I've made a mention in quite a few of my other times where I've talked about not only reviewing games, but also just doing first impression videos on games. And what I've mentioned is that a lot of the time, if I'm directly reviewing a game, it's probably going to be really good. I don't really do bad game reviews because, well, I'm not going to dedicate that much time to making a review on bad games. But when it comes to bad games, I'll do the sort of first impression videos or videos that are just sort of off the cuff tearing down a game. But the problem is that when games don't fall into the really bad or really good category, I usually don't talk about them all that much, and so a lot of these just alright games get no coverage at all. And I have a feeling that Samurai Parallel definitely falls into that just alright category, which makes it hard to talk about, but I'm gonna try anyway. As for first impressions, I think Samurai Parallel absolutely hits it out of the park with some of the best first impressions on the platform. Everything about the game, from when you boot it up to starting the tutorial, feels very professional and well done. And speaking of the tutorial, we can talk about that right now, and the best things that I can say about it is, well, it's one of the best tutorials on the game. Seriously, this thing is absolutely borderline perfection, with it telling you all of the different mechanics in the game that you would pretty much ever need to know, and when you're actually out of the tutorial and into the actual game itself, the game still makes a point to try to bring you to all of the different NPCs in town and explain to you what all of them do. Once again, this is another game that 100% proves that all of the people saying that making tutorials for these games is too difficult and can't be done is full of shit. No way around it, they are full of shit. Never listen to them because they are damn liars, and stuff like this proves that they are damn liars. Expect better from your games and demand better from your games because it can be done, and it's being done right here. Now, the only real nitpick that I guess I have with the tutorial is that at the very end of the tutorial, you're put into a boss fight that I assume you're expected to lose. But the thing that's kind of a bummer is that you can replay the tutorial, and win or lose in the tutorial, the result is exactly the same, which is kind of a bummer. I would have been really impressed if there were different cutscenes, or at least something different if you win this battle, but yeah, doesn't exist. Anyways, after the tutorial is completed, we go to play the game, and it's unplayable. Wait, what? Eclipse, I thought you said that this game was just mediocre, so if right after the tutorial the game is unplayable, what's going on here? Well, what I haven't mentioned up until now is that the footage that you're seeing was taken over the course of 2 different days, and that's because of just how low the player base on this game is and how the servers are handled, which I think that the people behind it, if they're still making stuff with this game, which I'm pretty sure they are, considering that the game was released around, I believe, a year ago, and it was updated on the 20th of January, which all things considered is a kind of long time ago, but not a ridiculously long time ago. Regardless, if there's one thing that this game needs, it's the ability to start servers on your own region. I haven't talked about the gameplay of Samurai Parallel just yet, but what I can tell you is that the gameplay in this game is parry-based, and in a parry-based game, if your connection is bad, it completely derails the entire experience and makes the game unplayable. So, in the case of me, I tried playing this game relatively late at night, and the only server that was available was a server in India, which meant that I literally could not play the game at all. With a game that already doesn't have very many players, the ability to just not play at all is a real problem. So whether it be allowing people to make private servers to play on their own, or allowing people to start a server manually on their region in order to give them and other people a chance to play, something should be done here because otherwise people just can't play it at all. And I almost didn't make this video at all because I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to play. Anyways, next day, I'm able to play the game. Let's talk about playing the game. Gameplay of Samurai Parallel is pretty solid. It's almost certainly just a direct copy-paste of Sekiro's combat, and quite honestly, yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. The rest of the game isn't a copy-paste from Sekiro, so if they want to take their combat and pretty much rip it one for one, so be it. For those of you who haven't played Sekiro, it effectively relies around parrying enemy attacks and building up their posture bar until it becomes full, in which case you're able to do a death blow, which will either instantly kill the enemy or take away one of the enemy's health bars. This system heavily relies on parries and death blows, as if you don't make use of them, enemy health bars tend to be very large or just not take a lot of damage, and so if you're not making use of the mechanics properly, you're just going to be wailing into a giant health bar that doesn't make any difference. Not to say that your attacks are completely worthless, a lot of posture increasing attacks can still be very helpful, but a lot of the time, especially against the AI in the game, it's usually better to simply wait for an enemy to attack you to parry it to build their posture up a lot quicker until you can get a death blow. Now that's direct frontal facing combat. There's also stealth in the game, which is very bare bones, but still fun to interact with nonetheless. You can crouch to decrease your detection radius, enemies can detect you by looking at you or hearing you if you're moving and not crouched. And if you go up behind an enemy undetected, you're able to do a death blow without having to build any posture, which means either instantly killing an enemy or instantly starting the fight at an advantage. The thing that's fun about stealth in this game, along with in the game that it was inspired from, Sekiro, which, just for the record, I am going to play more of that eventually. Sorry about the people who were asking for it. Anyways, the thing that's interesting and fun about the stealth in these two games is that it's not forced stealth in that you instantly fail if you fail the stealth state, it's more of stealth to the point of convenience. Basically, the more you succeed in stealth and the more enemies that you take out, the easier your time will be when you eventually either have to get detected or just get detected by screwing up. So it sits in that really ideal area where if you're really good at stealth, then you can get through entire sections without ever being detected. If you're just alright at stealth, you can make the job significantly easier, and if you don't care about stealth at all, the option to just brute force it is still there, albeit you'll be at a disadvantage. Overall, the mechanics of the fighting and the stealth in this game are more than passable. They were fun to interact with, and, well, I don't have a whole lot else to say on that front. Now, the one other thing that I think is important to talk about Samurai Parallel, and the thing that I think sort of derailed the game for me, was when we talk about the way that you level up, do quests, that kind of stuff. Because I feel like under the surface, there's a lot going on here when it comes to the different weapons you can get, the different stats you can get for those weapons, the different abilities you can have, the skill trees, the different clothes you can have. There's so much here, and yet my actual inclination to try to interact with that stuff is borderline zero, which is very much a problem. You see, the hook for this game in the tutorial is pretty solid and keeps you interested in the story of the game, but unless I've done something directly wrong, which even if I have would almost certainly then still pose an issue for the game itself, very quickly into what I assumed was the storyline for the game, it just sort of stops. And so while in the beginning of the game you're interested about what's going on in this world and trying to fight against these Highlander forces and all this different stuff, when it just sort of disappears completely, then it's just weird. You have this NPC at the very start of the game in the tutorial that's all mysterious, and you assume that you're gonna figure out who this person is, and I never saw them again. Which, like, maybe that's my fault. I honestly don't have a clue, but if it isn't, what the hell happened? I don't know, it's just so confusing. And so after I got to this point, I just sort of wandered around completing random quests. And none of the quests were really that interesting. I mean, they were solid enough, and they made me feel like the world was almost sort of lived in. I loved the fact that when I got a quest to go do something for somebody, it might directly lead me to somebody else, which would derail me onto a completely different path. I thought that was cool. Well, that is all of the quests except for the one which made me fight the same guy 3 times in a row, with the fight seemingly being exactly the same all 3 times, and having to run back and forth from him and the battleground each time. That one was very questionable. But again, at the end of the day, what it boils down to is just go from point A to point B, talk to somebody, go from point A to point B, talk to another person, maybe kill a group of enemies, and then you just do that again and again and again and again and again. And while it's not as boring as something like Blox Fruit, because the gameplay is actually, well, kind of fun, it is the same thing over and over and over and over again with basically no variety, and that can only be so fun for so long. And something that I haven't quite mentioned up until this point is there wasn't really an area of the game that I got to in the beginning that felt like I needed to upgrade my equipment or get new skills, because I was pretty much just plowing through everything. I'm sure they balanced the difficulty around connection and stuff like that, and that's why it felt relatively easy for me, along with having experience in a lot of these different games. But when I could just walk into a camp and kill everyone in it without having to worry about anything, a lot of that strategy, especially when it comes to using stealth and stuff, kind of goes out the window. And worrying about skills, stats, weapons, clothing, all that also goes out the window. So suffice to say, I was just kind of going around doing busy work, which wasn't very much fun. And it sucks to say this stuff, because I know just by saying these negative things, some people probably now aren't going to boot it up because, well, why would they bother when they can just keep playing Blox Fruit? But I do want to say that regardless of my negative feelings towards the game, I do think it's worth your time, and I hope the developers haven't completely lost faith in their own game, because it's a cool game and it's got a lot going on. Anyways, with that, I think I'm wrapping up here and don't have much else to say. Naturally, as per usual, the link for this game will be in the description, so if you want to go check it out, feel free. And with that, I'm wrapping up. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day now wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.